All right, everybody, welcome back to the Millennial Sales Podcast, episode 300. We got a little special show for you today. I'm your host, Tommy Tahoe. I'm surrounded by a table with three esteemed gentlemen here. We got some wine poured. We just ate some pasta, and we're going to talk a little shop. We're going to talk a little life, have some giggles, and make this just a fun show. So I'm going to let my buddies here introduce themselves. We're going to start with my man T-Dub. Let them know who you are, what you do, why you're here.
Yeah, Tanner Warner. I'm an AE with Nexum. We're a value-added reseller out of the city of Chicago. We're in the cybersecurity space. Been longtime friends with Tommy Tahoe here. Current roommates coming to an end, unfortunately, but we're just going to yuck it up today.
Okay. My man Lake.
I'm Lake Waters. I've been producing this podcast since episode 172, I believe.
Let's
My
go.
man Ralph Barcy.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's man, I hope that's actually
that's
it.
right.
But yeah, I've been behind the scenes here for over a year at Millennial Sales, running the thing. It's good to be here. Good to be in the light.
Dr. Lake. RW?
Excellent. Ryan Warner here, one of the co-hosts of this podcast back at episode 1. And Tom and I lived together for about a year. Sales savages together, kettlebell savages, marathon savages, and now here we are, episode 300 in Chicago, IL. Birthplace of the baby back ribs. Thanks for having us, Tommy.
Has anyone ever vetted that? Is that true?
Never vetted.
Love it.
So I don't even have an agenda. I usually got notes. I usually got questions. I'm just looking to shoot the shit, man. Let's talk about the early days of the pod. Let's go early days. We're talking 2016. I had no facial hair. I still don't. I had nothing going for me. And we just go in and we start podcast number 1.
Let me help with bringing that up. Tell us about the planning stages. You guys were living together. You guys were both selling. I don't know if you're both at Tech Target at this time. Ryan, you may have been at Salesforce. What made you guys come up with it? What did you have that you wanted to get out to people? And who's episode 1?
Episode 1 was Rich Stone, a former colleague of ours, and the podcast came about because we were big podcast listeners, and just wanted to share some knowledge about sales, but also build the network. I think more than anything, we wanted to start building all these relationships with people, and we figured doing a podcast would be a way to do that. So we noodled on it for about a month, and then committed. Initial name was the Sales Arena Podcast, which is still my Gmail for my Apple account.
Fire.
That's a pretty good name.
And then, then we launched what was TR Talk.
Yep.
Episode 1 was Rich Stone, but like you said, by episode we were interviewing Jordan Belfort.
Episode 20. Yeah, episode 1, we brought 3 mics to Rich Stone's apartment, 6 Ballast Point beers. I think it was on a Sunday, and we're just talking shop for an hour, and then it just kind of kept going from there. Then we got your boss on, then we got a couple random people, and then 20 episodes later, we're talking to Jordan Belfort while he's in Manhattan Beach like a maniac.
The Wolf.
The wolf. Not the wolf, the woof.
Man.
The wolf of Wall Street.
I'll throw in that when I do the throwback episodes that we release now and every once in a while on Monday, you can tell the progression and just how much better it sounds now. You go back to some of those older ones, and it sounds like you guys could tell you guys had legit mics. You just didn't know how to use them.
Yeah.
And it was every podcast sounds like it was recorded by one of those $5 pairs of earbuds from the gas station, and you guys were also in a drainage ditch.
In a different room.
Right? Yeah. But interviews were still solid back then, and made the way.
So you guys had a thought. You wanted to build relationships. You say this all the time, and I posted this in an article recently, but relationships are the currency of life. So the goal was to build relationships, build a network. You're in sales. We all know how important that is. So did you guys do a practice podcast at all? Did you guys? I know you guys interviewed each other at some point, off and on.
Did we?
We interviewed each other as a practice, I remember, and it did not go very well.
A lot of laughs about like this.
I remember when we interviewed Rich, it also took us a while to actually publish it. I don't know how long it was. To me, it felt like 5 years. It was maybe a month or two. But I remember we did the episode, and I don't know about you, I was fucking terrified of publishing it. But what people were going to say, people were going to make fun of it, it's going to be terrible, whatever. And people did make fun of it. Some people loved it. Some people were like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
Nate Uppus, our friend, hated it.
I remember, shout out to Brian Dowling. I love Brian Dowling, but he gave me shit about it too when we first started. Like, what are you doing? Get out. Like, people just don't do that. But, yeah, so once we hit that, though, we just kept it moving.
What takes now 20 minutes to edit and upload an episode took 2 weeks.
It was terrible.
On that point of being scared and worried about releasing it, though, I talked to you about this because Tom, for those that don't know, is one of my mentors when I got into sales. And I recently started posting my own content on LinkedIn, just building my network that way. And I always, for the first few months, was worried about who would get value out of this or why would I do this? And I just remember this one Gary Vee comment, and he said, as long as one person gets any value out of it, you've done what you wanted to do. So if one person gets interaction and value out of it, that's the goal. And that's what you guys wanted. And you definitely got made fun of. I still get shit for some of my peers. Oh, yeah. Alex Banks, looking at you. And
Alex.
But you guys did the right thing. You did what you want to do, and you put the content out there so people got value out of it. And people get value out of it. Look at the numbers.
Yeah. I mean, that's so true that it really... You can easily get caught in the numbers, whether you're on LinkedIn or doing a podcast or a blog or whatever. But if people like it and they get value out of it, then it really does make it worth it. Like, I don't, I've had a sponsor or two on the podcast. I don't really make money from it, but I do get a decent amount of DMs from BDRs that are like, yo, that podcast was sick with Ralph Barcy or whoever. And that feels good. And it's like, all right, that's worth doing another hour this week and putting it in and having that interview. And so I definitely agree. T-Dub, I'd love to get into your background of sales story because you got an interesting one.
Yeah, let's do it. So, was graduated from college in 15. Was in a finance role up until January of 21. And prior to that, everyone knows this, I'm not ashamed to say it, I got divorced, went through a pretty tough divorce on the personal side, and then COVID hit, so the lockdown was happening. You guys were all there for me during all that. And during that time, Ryan, who's my brother, obviously, and my best friend, he was always like, listen, he's been in sales his whole life, and he always said to me, I need to get into software sales. One way or another, it needed to happen, because we're so similar. I have the personality for it. There's no way I need to be stuck behind a spreadsheet. And between the personal issues happening, the lockdown, I was like, fuck it. Let's make the jump and move. So Ryan helped me prep, get interviewing, and then got a couple referrals in, had a few offers, and ultimately landed at Nexum. And where I'm at now, started as an SDR, was in that role for 6 months, led every single month in meeting set. Did a hybrid role for the last 6 months. So I was doing loosely as a BDR job, but still required to hit a quota for meetings, led every single month in that. The goal was always to double the quota. I believe I did that every single month. And from there, I got to start building my own book. I had great mentors there, Dave Getz, Dirk Nauka, and John Panis, and then my boss, Nathan Ing. I was able to build and just start working on myself that entire time. And now I'm a full-blown AE, and I've never been happier in my entire life. I can't believe I did anything else but this. I get to be myself every single day. I get to talk to people every single day, build relationships, go out, hang out, grab some drinks, grab some meals, and there's no other job in the world that allows me to be what I call a competitive psycho, which is what I am. And I get to be that with this job, and I'm so pumped about it. It's and I have you guys to thank for that. You guys are the best.
Dude.
Welcome.
Crazy. I mean, to even think of you as an accountant, now that I really know you, is like, I can't even imagine it. Stuck in Excel all day.
Anyone I mention that to looks at me like I'm insane.
Who told you to do that? That was whatever guidance counselor at College told you to do that should be fired immediately.
COE, baby. But some horror stories, like it was terrifying. I posted an article about this too, but I was cold calling inside in sunglasses. I was so nervous.
Yeah.
I mean, I was terrified to do it. Ryan had to come over and do it with me for a couple days, and then I finally got a hold of you, and you helped me out on a weekly basis, and I just started doing the work, and it just comes easier with repetition. That's what everything is. I mean, same with you, probably. You're probably nervous about doing this initially. You do it for Ryan's podcast, Wrestling Changed My Life, and I'm sure there was like times you're like, I don't know if I could do this, but it's over and over the repetition. You're great at it, right?
100%. No, me and Ryan were actually just talking about that recently, where it's just like there's always things where it's just like obviously you can keep getting better, but like I'm at the point now where it's just like you can look around and it's just like, damn, like that person's where I was at or whatever, and it's like I'm like it feels good when you realize where you're at, you know, and you're like damn, I can take on whatever.
Well, like you when you first moved to the big city, you were in a BDR role. I forgot about that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Email prospecting, cold calling.
Yeah, that's like, yeah, speaking of nervous cold calling, my stint as a BDR was short enough where I never got good at it. But the same thing where it was like, I didn't throw on the sunglasses, but it's like, I had to go to the conference room and like, only place I could like get in the zone, I'd sit there like staring at the contact info for like 5 minutes and just like, heart's just beating. And I'm like, all right, just got to do it. And you taught me this. You came into the office to even show me. It's just like, dude, like people are people. Just they're gonna talk to you. It's just like had plenty of people who like thought I was a fucking scam caller and just immediately, would literally tell me to fuck off, hang up on me right away. But it's like, but even that feeling was so much better than like the nerves going into it. It's just like, it's like, oh shit. It's like, and then even when that happens, it's like, I had more guts to call them back afterwards. You know what I mean? After the rejection.
And how silly is it to be scared to pick up a phone and dial numbers?
People you don't know.
It's embarrassing.
It is, but it's not though, because when you're 24, you're calling someone who's 38 or 50 and they're a professional. You're like, what am I going to say to you about this little technology I've read a white paper on? Yeah. I remember driving in when we were in the sales training. First weekend was like in the books. Second weekend, cold calling. It was like 100 calls a day. And it was truly the worst thing ever. So nerve-wracking. The one lady said, slow down, you're doing okay.
So I'm like, the prospect said that?
Yeah. She's like, slow down, you're fine. I'm like, yeah, it does go away though.
But think about it. We think, like when we were teenagers, we thought a 21-year-old was an adult. When we're 21, we think a 30-year-old's an adult. All these things. I'm 31 right now. I'm not an adult. So, I mean, you're scared to call a 35-year-old when you're 24. When I'm 35, that's in 4 years, 3 years. I'm not going to be much different. It's just you got to get over that mindset. And as soon as you do, you can just excel at it and fly away at it, right?
Yeah.
When you were cold calling, give us some horror stories.
Dude, it's, well, I mean, I called someone once that, or I tried to, and the gatekeeper said that they died. That was probably like the worst thing that ever happened.
John Barrow says,
I don't even know what to say about that.
John Barrow says, you haven't cold called till you cold calling someone that's dead.
That's raw.
That's
Shout
so
out
true.
to John Barrows.
Shout out.
You ever called someone, they're like, yeah, I'll give you 60 seconds, and you go and they're like, I have no idea what you just said. I have no idea what you do or what your business does, and I'm scared. Does that ever happen to you at
That
phone?
was that was literally when I was in the BDR role. It was like, because those nerves taking over. It's like hey, I'd introduce myself, and then they're like, yeah, but like, what are you calling for? Like, what do you do? Who are you with? And I'm like,
Great question, Your Honor.
It
No
never,
idea.
I mean,
Give us a horror story, Tom.
Even as you get better, though, like, you can get more skill, you can get more confidence. To me, even still this day, if you told me to go like cold call, you still get the butterflies in your stomach. I mean, even if you're good, you know what you're selling, you're confident in what you're going to talk about. Just picking up the phone and dialing someone random, like, I still get little nerves. I mean, it happens.
And it's all about confidence, right?
All
about confidence. You pick up the phone, it matters what your inflection is, matters if you got your pitch down, but it's all about confidence. And let's be clear, on a cold call, I don't want them to say too many words besides yes or no, and I want to hang up within 60 seconds.
Yes, absolutely.
I want that calendar invite out.
You want to be in and out.
Yeah, and I want to be sweating when I'm done.
And episode 17, sports psychologist Michael Gervais. Where does confidence come from?
Always compete.
Comes from what you say to yourself.
Respect.
Okay.
I was going to say preparation.
It's actually three things. It's preparation, past experience, and what you say to yourself.
Because, passive
Tom gave us a third of the recipe there.
I just felt like that was the one that was
He
going
left
to really...
out the fucking salt.
that one was going to be the one that really dialed
If
it
you're
in.
prepared, though, you feel good.
Yes.
If you're prepared, you have past experience where you book meetings,
Yep.
and you're telling yourself, you're getting yourself hyped up, listen to some Young Jeezy before you make a call, you're good.
That's life, though, right?
Yeah.
Be prepared for what you're
That's
doing.
it.
100%.
When I was in my prime, going into the office,
You're still in your prime.
from sales prime, coming from
You're not
the
your sales
train,
prime? Aren't you like 200% to goal this year?
coming from the train to the office at Salesforce, which was 6 blocks, I would have the headphones in, and it was like kill mode, bro.
So,
Going in like kill mode.
Let's talk about that because that's something you detoured me away from. And sorry if I'm hijacking this, Tom, but you detoured me away from that mindset when I started. You said, in all honesty, people didn't like you at Salesforce, right? Because you were vicious, you were hungry, you're competitive. You weren't there to make friends. You're there to make money.
Yeah.
Tell us about how that wasn't the right way in your mind.
It wasn't.
Now.
It wasn't because you can accomplish the same things and be friendly. I just wasn't overly friendly, and so it wasn't because it's just more fun to do things with your friends and everyone's having a good time.
Yes.
But at the same time, it was just the principle of I'm here from 7 to 5, which I was the first person to leave because I wanted to get home. But I'm getting shit done between 7 and 5, and I'm out of here. And
See, I felt the same way when I went to Tech Target straight out of school. I'm a competitive cat. I don't like to lose. I remember there's 17 of us in the sales class. We're all in a circular table, and I'm just thinking in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna fucking kill this person and this person, and it's just, I mean, that just comes from a sports background, I think, and just being kind of a sicko. And it was good. It helps. I think if you have that mindset the first year of your sales career, I think that's actually helpful because you got to get through some shit. The first year, you're going to hit some major adversity, and you're either going to quit, like most people usually do with sales. It's like not right for them. They want to do something else. But if you're going to get through, you got to get through something tough. And then after that, I think it just gets easy to get burnt out. If you're in sales or anything else, if you're competing against people too
Well
intensely.
said.
So I wrote an article about competing, and one of your comments I'm surprised you said that because one of your comments was you really get to a point, the competition really is between yourself. And you don't got to be this external competitor because everyone else has to do their job. If they don't, that's not on you. Right. But your comment was something along the lines of the competition is really between you and yourself to beat your own goals, right? That's when the real competition begins. So I didn't know you had the same mindset as Ryan when you first started. I wasn't aware of that.
The first year, I was a fucking maniac. And I had good friends in the sales class too, but shout out to Ryan Rougeau. Shout out to Colin Akers. I would have slit their throats to get to sell $1 more than them the first year.
Sorry,
and then
Akers.
someone came up to me and was like, dude, you're kind of cocky. And I'm like, damn, I didn't really know I was displaying myself that way. And then over time, I felt like I was getting so intense that I was burning myself out. And it was just easier afterwards to root for other people because you selling doesn't mean I can't sell.
Exactly.
If anything, that's a good thing because I can learn from you. It means the product's doing well. It means all these good things. And people like you, and it just that only will enhance your career if you have that attitude, I think.
And on a related note, so like, and this goes for everyone, but how good of a feeling is it once you're able to? You haven't mastered it, right? But you're at a position where if someone wanted to get into editing podcasts, you could do that, and we'll go around talking about how you guys are helping people in your role. But starting with you, how awesome of a feeling is it to be so good at it where you can start helping other people?
It's wild. Like, kind of like what I was talking about earlier. It's just like, you just kind of, I don't know, it happens upon you. It's just like, you kind of realize it just clicks and it's just like, holy shit. Like, and it's not like it adds responsibility, I guess, but it's just like, but yeah, it's just like knowing it's just like, man, other people can't do what I do, which is like, it's weird. Sometimes you got to like tell yourself that and like, my bad. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you got to tell yourself that and just, especially for you guys in sales, like we were just talking about how fucking nerve-wracking it is. It's just like, you got to realize, just like, there's a reason why you're in that position. It's like, there are people who, they cannot make that cold call.
Right.
Like, so like, yeah, for me, it's just like, if someone comes upon me and they're like, hey, can you help with this? It's just like, it gives you like a
confidence,
but it also like, I don't know, it just like gives you a
Satisfaction.
not satisfaction. That's not what I'm looking for.
Pride?
It tells you what you're like. Just, I don't know if purpose is the right word either, but it's just like it's man,
fulfilling.
Like fulfilling. That's what it is. Because it's like man, this is like it's like someone's actually coming to ask me about this. Like it's wild. And I do want to say real quick.
Yeah, you got to clear up the BDR stent. Clear it out.
Let's clear
Yeah.
the air.
Clear the air.
Let's clear the air. on this.
So yeah, we'll clear up the BDR thing because as we mentioned, I was in a BDR position for a short time. My job was working for a business where our whole thing was bringing startups and investors together. We had 2 to 3 events a year, and as most people know, the events business at the beginning of COVID was not thriving.
Decimated.
So
Decimated.
When, literally the business was decimated in about 3 weeks, and like after that, Tom basically saved my life. If you guys think Tom
Let's
hasn't
go.
done anything for the
Let's
world,
go.
but we're just talking about
Let's hear
ourselves
it.
helping other people. It's like Tom was half my income at one point.
Let's
Maybe
boost
more
that
than half
ego
my
up
income,
over
you know
there.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because just one of those things where it was like, I was like, holy shit. I thought I was about to have to move back in with my parents.
Right.
I was like, what the hell is happening right now? Like, did this virus really, like, did COVID just fuck up my whole life?
Yep.
But,
Damn.
so sales, even though I got out of a sales position, it's like,
You're still selling.
I'm still in it.
You're still
it's
selling.
Like, I mean, I'm still here.
I mean, you're an entrepreneur.
We'd love to have you back, dog, on
you
the
have
BDR
your own
floor.
You have your own
Might be
business
back.
you're running now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
dude.
And everyone's in sales.
Wild.
Truly, though, coming up on, this be 3 years in August or 2 years in August?
This will be. I moved here in September 2019, so this will be 3 years.
In that time, you've gone from nothing to now running a small podcast production business.
It's wild.
Supporting yourself.
It's amazing, dude.
Amazing.
Appreciate
Crazy.
And before we move
Lake
on,
the snake,
Let's
baby.
Dr.
Come on,
Lake,
give me
baby,
a-
let's
it.
go.
Appreciate it.
Dr. Lake in that house. And before we move on to how Ryan and Tom are giving back in that way, talk about, because Lake's Ryan and I's cousin, for those who don't know, we're from a small rural area. Talk about how unlikely it was that you would be living here and your job is producing podcasts.
Well, that's one of the things that my parents always told me growing up was like, and like even when you guys moved here, like it was like, I'll start it out by I came to visit on New Year's, I think, for the first time. That was the first time I'd ever been to Chicago. I was like,
Come on.
20. I think I was 20 years old, and I was like, holy shit! Like this is the dream. Like I gotta be here. I had never seen anything like it. I'm driving down Lakeshore Drive for the first time. I'm just like, almost
fucking
getting in an
ocean.
accident every 30 feet because I'm like looking at shit. And my parents told me my whole life, just like, you'll never be able to afford to live there. And it's like, well, it turns out it's maybe fucking $50 to $100 more than our hometown. It's like they just had this weird conception of it. And it's just got here. Yeah, it's really unbelievable still to this day. The fact that I'm just living here.
It's the best.
It's crazy, man. It's
The
crazy.
best. Yeah, and you lived with Ryan for a few months. We lived together a few months. Now you're on your own. That's legit. So
You can't. Can I just butt in on one thing that Lake just said? You can't. I'm not trying to turn this into a Eric Thomas motivational video here, but you can't listen to what other people are saying is the right thing for you or the wrong thing for you, or what you can or can't do, by the way. Because that's just what they're saying about their own shit that they went through, especially if they're older, our parents or whatever age. Like, they're just trying to put that on you. So if you want to fucking live in Chicago and you want to produce podcasts or whatever, you can go fucking do that.
Yep.
So I just had to say that.
You're not exposed to those mentalities very much when you are surrounded by 3 cornfields and a river.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying,
neighbors.
though. That's what I'm saying. That's why people are listening to the podcast.
Right, dude, for real.
And that's why it's even more impressive, right? I mean, just for folks that don't know, when Lake described his living situation, that is literally what was surrounding your house. There was no neighbors. You lived on a gravel road. I mean,
Crazy.
That's what it was, and now you're here. It's legit. So giving back, once you realize to the point where you are, Tom, you are able to give back. Obviously, the podcast, you're my mentor, you're mentoring many people. You just got a friend of yours a job as a BDR via referral.
Shout out Lucy Grove.
How good
Bozeman, Montana.
is it? Fulfillment? Is it pride? Is it accomplishment? Is it everything? What is the feeling you get when you're able to help young professionals out, such as myself?
I mean, it's at this point, it's like my biggest passion in life. Like, that's why, like, the goal would be to be able to do that professionally. And I love selling and I love, doing that day to day, but like doing the podcast stuff, mentoring people, coaching people like that gets my wheels turning. Like, that gets me fired up. And it is equally selfless and selfish, because when you help someone, everyone knows you help someone, you give a homeless person $1, you help your friend move, whatever, it just feels good. Like, it gives you confidence, it makes you feel good, gives you energy. And so that's why I do it, because when I talk to you about sales stuff and I helped you out with an issue you're having, like, it helped you, it helped me. That's great. Like, that it's a win-win all around. And so I feel like there's so many people that, there's a quote from Arnold Schwarzenegger, something to the extent of like, there's no such thing as a self-made man or woman. It's like, there's always a village of people that help you get where you're at. If it's your family, your friends, mentors, bosses, coaches, whatever. And so we all got that. And so I feel like it's your responsibility once you hit any level of anything to like pay it forward, and hopefully forever.
I love that. Now, pivoting to you, this is going to be a little different. How much better of it? So when you started coaching wrestling, how much better of a wrestler did you feel that you became? It's a similar thing.
Great point, and it's so true. It's like when you have to step back and explain something to someone, you start to understand the steps that make up the whole.
Yep.
And, mastering the steps, you get better at the whole. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy to think about it that way. And, I don't know how much I've done of, like, direct, like coaching and managing like Tom's done, but I bet it would be pretty eye-opening to see that.
Yeah, and I was able to just do my first kind of session via intro from you for Philip Laux. Shout out Phil. He
Phil.
might be he was interested in talking about the position, and you're right. I guarantee I got more out of it. I can't guarantee it, but I felt I got as much out of it as he did, right? Because it was. You're right. It's selfless and selfish. I don't know how they can be both, but they are. It is.
Yeah.
But you have to like. I just feel like it's an obligation once you go into sales to pay it forward, because growing up, no one knew about that job.
No one.
Everyone. I felt bad that I wasn't going to be a doctor, engineer, or lawyer. Like I was never going to. I felt bad about myself my whole life.
Dude.
Tell about the call you had to make when you told either mom or Nana that you weren't going to law school.
I thought I was going to be a car salesman, and
Go tell the background of that.
no, it's
'Cause
just
you were in law school.
No, I never went to applied to law school.
Okay.
Applied to law school the first time. Literally got into 0 out of 8.
And were you
undergrad
not the
and-
first?
Sorry.
I don't know if I'm making this up. Were you the first in your family to go to college?
Yep.
Okay, so you're the first in your family to go to college.
Yep.
You're applying to law school, which on paper is like first in the family to go to college, applying to law school. Like this, our son or our
did it.
whatever is going to be fucking. He's going to be rich.
But knew
He's the golden
nothing
child.
about serious applications. Did terrible on the test. Got into 0 out of 8 schools. Nothing. Literally nothing. I go to grad school because I won a scholarship to go to grad school, so I didn't have to pay. 2 years to retake the test. I retake the test, do a lot better. While I'm applying and retaking it, I meet 2 mentors that changed my life that said, you should go into B2B software sales. And I'm like, word, okay. Like, what is that? And, they basically told me, and I'm like, okay. And the thing that was key is that business to business. You're selling to business. You're
Right.
not working for a life insurance company, cold calling, selling to 60-year-old geriatrics. I was
Right.
like, that's interesting. So, yeah, that was like once you get someone that lucky though telling you that, and it turns your whole life around, you got to pay it forward because enough people don't know about it.
Yes, and tell about the call you had to make though.
What's that to
It was either mom or Nana.
Yeah, I mean, just basically just like you can imagine, anytime you leave the nest and you're leaving a stable career, no one in my family knew about sales. Call them up, and mom was just very upset, wouldn't speak to me.
Crying.
For a couple
I
weeks.
mean-
Crying, thought I was crazy.
Shout out to Mama J.
And then,
Shout out.
then I took her to the Salesforce Tower, and she changed her tune. Change your tune. The whole lobby was a 2-story flat screen TV that
That plays a
must have caught
waterfall.
billions.
Made by sales.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is where I work.
But that's something,
Crazy.
and not to come back to John Barrows again, but I'm obsessed with them, as Tahoe
JB.
knows. One of his missions in life with his company, JB Sales, is to change the image of salespeople. Because a lot of people have that negative image, what Ryan said, a used car salesman. And in movies, they portray a successful person as a lawyer or doctor. You always hear those 2 professions, right?
Yeah.
You can make boatloads more money being in sales.
Absolutely.
And depends on how you define success, obviously, but
It's also the quality of life, though, too.
Yes.
Like, it's I have some friends that are lawyers. They literally work 120-hour work weeks.
every week.
And, maybe they're defending a company that's products causing cancer. I don't know. Like, there's just all kinds of scenarios. I just compared to that because that was almost my life being a lawyer. And so I just think that the quality of life is so nice. And, like, the more you work, the more you make. And that autonomy, like, gives people purpose. Like, if you're owning your own fate, it just feel better about your life.
Yeah.
And
if you believe in what you're selling, I mean,
That's everything.
it's everything. Whether it's a software that you truly believe is going to help the customer, or I've had people on the podcast that were selling some sort of like medical equipment that was going towards like fighting cancer, and that's like, I mean, that's a cause to get behind. So there's a lot of, and you can sell a product that sucks too, and you could sell something that is terrible for the world or the environment or whatever. So like you could do harm with sales too, just as you could as a lawyer or a doctor. But if you find something you believe in and that is going to help other people, then that just adds to the fulfillment equation.
But you hit on it, and one of the best things about the job, in my opinion, is the autonomy. And you have this with your own schedule, right? Obviously, you have deliverables, you have goals, you have stuff you have to do, but you can do it at your own pace. How nice is that as opposed to punching a clock 9 to 5?
It's nice, but like I'm not gonna act like it's not nice in the sense that I live at my office. You know what I mean?
Fair,
Like,
fair.
I don't know. I'm one of the I wish I had an office to go to still. That was what because that was when I had my BDR role. There were some days where I'd work from home, not often, but it happened every once in a while. And it was just and my boss knew it was yeah, you can get this shit done. It doesn't have to be in the office for it. And I love that, but it's just man, that mindset switch when you actually get out of your place and you have somewhere to go and
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. It's like you zone in because you're like.
Yes.
It's like I don't know. It's like you're in the bullpen.
You're in the office,
warming up.
baby.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
like you're getting ready to go. You know.
There's no doubt it does make an impact.
Yeah.
100%.
When you went directly after Salesforce is when you were at a different company and you were fully remote. Did you struggle initially being on your own and out of the office?
Maybe for like a week, but since I got into sales, all my mentors told me the end goal is to be an outside sales rep where you cover a group of customers, you work from home. That's the end goal. And so I knew that was where I was always going. Like, even though I maybe only spent 2 years at TechTarget, 2 years at Salesforce, and a year at a startup, my whole goal was just to be an outside rep and just work from home because I knew that was like what my two mentors had done. So for like a week, I was a little weird. I was still living with Tom, and I was kind of like, man, but honestly, I was working remote way before COVID, and I would never go back at this point.
So when you were, I thought you started that job when you moved to Chicago. You were working remote in SF still?
For like a month.
Okay, got it.
For like a month.
What about you? Was Gong your first fully remote?
Well, we went remote. When I was at TechTarget was when COVID hit.
Oh, okay.
And we'd have days here and there where you could work from home, but they like to keep an office environment. But I was actually managing a team when COVID hit. And then fucking one of my best rep quit. And then some other rep we laid them off. And so then I only had 2 of my 4 reps left. And then then the manager role was like kind of obsolete. And so then at that point, I haven't been back to an office since, March of 2020. Word on the street is that Gong's getting something going in Chicago soon, but
Come on.
we haven't seen the final details on that
Now, are
yet.
you someone who's in the late camp where you get a little extra juice going in, or would you prefer the remote?
I like a hybrid play.
Yeah.
Here's what I want. I want there to be an option with no obligation.
Yep.
I don't want like
Such
you
a
have
millennial
to.
thing.
Millennial sales, baby. Millennial
Keep
sales.
it stock full of beer, and maybe I'll come in.
Maybe once a month.
Just burning company cash.
I don't
my-
want a Tuesday, Thursday office, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I want,
What about-
here's an office. We got 100 people at Gong, 50 people at Gong that can come in. It's probably going to be like a WeWork or something. Come in when you want. Don't come in when you don't want.
What
That's
about
what I
a
want.
mandate of 3 days a week?
Don't
Sorry?
like it.
A
Mandate?
mandate of 3 days a week.
In the office?
Like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're in the office. Every Monday, Friday, work from home.
Look out, folks.
I
Big
don't-
government's here. Mandates.
Yeah,
Mandates.
I'm
I don't.
Like, look about all the mortgage, all the rent they're paying for these spaces.
I don't know if
agree
it's
with
enough for me
one-day
to.
mandate.
It's probably not
One
enough
day
for me.
mandate.
Just one day. That
Okay.
way it's just like, but again, like you said, hybrid where it's like everyone has the options. Like, because if you do, anyone can pick 1 out of the 5 work days to come in, and it's
Yeah.
no
Right.
problem.
Okay.
And chances are that's gonna, like, they're gonna ride that, and they're gonna come in more days than that, and like, and that 1 day a week does guarantee that they're like, yeah, we are at least paying for this for something.
Right.
Here's the thing, though. Companies, I think, are smart enough at this point where, based on everything that happened, you have to decide. You're either, because I've talked to sales leaders that some of them are like, we're only hiring, we're in office, we're an in-office company now, and that's your thing? Cool. You do that. And there's some companies that are like remote forever. It's never going to change. That's cool. You got to choose your lane. You can't like hire people based on hybrid or based on remote and then say, now all of a sudden you got to come in 3 days a week. That's not what I said. That's not what you signed up
I
for.
will say though, the first 4 years of your career, if you're not in the office, you're at a huge disadvantage.
It's tough to start. So you've never been in a
But
sales
you've been a
pit.
professional for 4 to 5 years. It's different, but it's still infinitely harder.
I was going to agree with you because one of the things I struggled with the most in the earlier months was, and you kept constantly telling me I was at such a disadvantage by not being in a sales pit, and my boss would tell me that, and I could see both sides of it because I told you guys how nervous I was before.
Yeah.
I could see how I would hate it, but I could also see how like the camaraderie, like when I do go in a couple times every now and then, it's awesome to have all the sales guys in the sales pit yucking it up and talking shit. But
just think about how much you learn though. Like I just remember like so many conversations. I walk by someone's desk and you have this report up. I'm like, why do you got that up? He's like, oh, I can see so and so's revenue by this column. I'm like, oh shit, that's genius. And then you hear someone else on a call and you're like, that's the dude who's like beating me. I'm like, he sounds great.
Yeah.
He sounds way better than me. And you're like, it just I just think it's super valuable.
I
Your
miss
first
those
4 to
those
5 years
things.
to be in the office though.
Totally.
To
I
learn.
envied when you were at TechTarget. So you took me through the office. You guys literally had a
Sales bell.
sales bell.
Oh, the best.
That's the coolest
One
shit
ring
ever.
for every 10 grand of the deal.
Yeah.
So sometimes a person
at
would go up there.
Salesforce too?
No,
That's
Tech
what-
Target.
Oh yeah, Tech. That was the best.
But you'd go up there and like they'd be ringing 20 times, 30 times. You're like, fucking 300, 400, and it's not.
Yeah.
I was never there for the big ones, but there's been a couple million ones where it's like 100 rings, and people are like,
That's Tommy. Hey, that's Tommy Deals right here.
yeah.
Million. I don't
Come
know.
on!
I don't know if we can say that publicly,
go.
but we
Fuck
just did
yeah.
We'll bleep it out. We'll bleep it out.
People are looking. They're like, Tom's at 10 rings. He's at 20. He's like, is he gonna keep
Dude,
going?
the ring, people would get, even if you only had 3 rings, people would just get fucking hyped.
I would lose count. 1.5 mil at 10K. I don't even know what that
I
number
got that
is.
video on my phone. That was my proudest moment.
It was fun because like we're in a row of sales row like this, and like the gong was or the bell was on that door, and like the guy would get up or the girl would get up, and you kind of look around, and everyone would be like, you walk around to it, and everyone starts. Oh,
I love that.
it was fun. It really made it awesome, actually.
So you were always expecting to be a remote sales rep at some point.
Absolutely.
Got it. What about you?
Never really crossed my mind.
Yeah.
There's always seems to be kind of 2 paths. If you want to be in sales for a long time, there's like older, like experienced AEs that chose that life. They're like, be a remote rep, enterprise rep, go live in San Diego or Chicago or a cool city and travel and do your meetings and just like, work your own schedule and just make a shit ton of money. And that's a great path. That's a great life. And then there's the other path where it's like, all right, you got to, like, if you want to get into management, you might need to be in the office. You might make less money early on, but you maybe have more progression to be like a VP or whatever you want to do down the line. And it just interested me more to try to figure out like a management path versus like the enterprise AE. Although it doesn't sound bad. Looking at you right now, you're at what, 180% to goal with 4 months left in the.
Can
we drop some stats?
Guy hasn't showered in a month.
at 5 months left. But I think it's just, I don't, like you said, you love the management and the mentoring. Yeah. I like it like once a quarter where someone's like, hey, I got a cousin who's trying to get into sales. I'm like, yeah, let me talk to him for 20 minutes.
Right.
Then I'm done with it.
Right.
I'm not going to handhold all week. I
Yeah.
got my own things going on, you know?
So the 2 paths you just talked about, one is what Ryan mentioned earlier. Fully outside, wants to do that only. You mentioned the management path. So I got 2 questions for you.
Hit me.
You guys clearly are different there. So let's talk about it. I mean,
Talk about
why does that fit you better, and why does that fit you better? Why does management not appeal to you, and why does it appeal to you so much?
I feel like it's kind of a 2-pronged thing. One, it goes back to what I was saying before about the fulfillment of trying to help others. To me, that's just what jazzes me up. Like having a 30-minute conversation with someone that I can help out gets me more excited than closing a big deal. It just does. The second is that
More than ringing the bell? For real?
for real, yeah.
Amazing.
And ringing the bell is sick. Don't get me wrong. And sometimes it's like, man, those paychecks are nice. But the other thing is that I just felt like over time, when I envisioned myself like 10 years from now, if I was an enterprise rep at wherever, Salesforce, because we mentioned it, and just closing like 500K deals, I just don't know if I'm going to stay motivated doing that same thing over and over. I feel like I need a little bit more variety.
Yep. And I think the concept of a manager helping a rep applies only if the reps are young. Like my boss isn't developing any of the reps on my team, and nor do any of the reps. Fair. I'm the youngest rep of my team. These are all like 55-year-old legit pros who don't need any coaching. Monsters, killers, bro. They've been working with this account for 20 years. They're like, there's no coaching going on.
Get the fuck out.
So it depends on what role you are. I do think it would be nice to maybe be like a vice president and make some, it's a lot more stressful job, but I just like the freedom. To me, the most important thing in life is being free.
Yes.
And I just totally, at my leisure, totally at my own control of things. And I don't get my passion I don't get like my sense of fulfillment from the job. So I'm okay if I don't get that there. Yeah. Because I'm doing it through the hobby, the podcast.
That's big.
Yeah. So that's where I'm like, all right. And I just, actually, the more I'm in the outside sales role and I talk to some of these guys, like I was with a guy last week, his only account's Dell. Another guy where his only account's Walmart. These guys are like 45, super smart, and they're like more into the weeds than I am. So I'm actually getting excited about the skills it takes to sell to one account for 15 years.
I mean, that's a whole nother level.
That's big boy sales. Those guys are legit.
They know 5,000 people at those companies.
Bro, and they're selling. They might do a $5 million deal, and it takes 2 years.
Right.
And they make $1 million off, and they're done for a year. And that's like, I don't know. I don't want that. I like having 80 accounts to call on, but that is what a lot of reps do. And I used to think that was the only way to do it.
So going back to a little bit of the in-person stuff, you just got back from your first in-person QBR in 2 to 3 years, right?
Yep.
Roughly.
Yep.
You came back legitimately with a different. You were jazzed.
So
you were
excited.
pumped, and you were talking to me about prospecting because I'm still building out my book. I'm in more of a hunter role than you are. But you came back, you're like, dude, I'm prospecting every day now. I'm pumped about it. What was it? And that goes back to the in-person thing.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't have got that if it was a virtual fucking QBR.
I just like
Fair.
being at, yeah, absolutely. The in-person was awesome, but I just like being around people who are really good at their job. And I'm like, man, I was just inspired by all the people we work with, that they're all like A-level professionals. You know, I'm like, man, that
Just
so
killers.
It makes you want to step your game up. Why would you
Yeah.
want to be average?
Yeah.
You know, so I just think it was impressive to me, like how far some people go to build relationships and do that. Like it's just, and like honestly, like what it reminds me of is that it's not even about, like, I'm not even that passionate about selling load balancers. Like I don't think anyone would say they're passionate about selling load balancers. I think it's just being passionate about being just someone who's friendly, wants to help someone out. Like when
Yeah.
you call a customer, it's just like a buddy.
Yep.
And you're just trying to help them solve a problem.
Yep.
And that's how the best reps think about it. And so I'm like, man, I need to be more like that. Because I could be a little transactional at times.
Yeah.
And every mentor you've introduced me to, whether it was pre-interview, post-interview, whatever, I'm sorry, like pre-sales or post-sales, they all say that. It's all about the relationship.
All about
It's all
the
about the long term. It's all about legitimately helping, and then not the transactional piece like you mentioned.
Well, that's why I think you did so well with it, because it's just about being a normal person.
Yeah.
You know?
I want to
That's
hear
actually-
Lake's. I want to hear Lake's take.
Yeah, so no, that's something I want to talk about, because when you mentioned that, like, yeah, you've only been remote, and like going back to what we were saying about like you guys were like hardos when it kind of first started. It's like it's like that's why it doesn't matter if it's sales or any other role. It's like you do need to have those in-person interactions, because it's like when you get hired at a new job, no matter what the position is, it's so much easier to just like keep your head down and like, all right, I'm not talking to anyone. I'm fucking scared of everyone. I don't know anyone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna get my shit done. But then just like you were saying, it's just like once everyone's there to help each other. They're all your buddies out there. Like
Yeah.
you guys are you guys are in the field together. It's like you got hired in that position so that you guys can all help each other and stuff. And it's just like that's wild to me how or I guess that you're lucky in a sense that like you had these guys in the sales
Huge.
role to like let you know that like, hey, like there are these things that you have to know that you would have learned on the floor, but
Right.
you didn't get to.
Dude, I mean, so lucky having these guys. And luckily enough, I work for such a great company. Well, after 3 months, we had monthly or bi-weekly team happy hours or whatever. And after it was March, I called my boss, who was Megan at the time. Shout out to Megan Harris.
Megan.
I was like, hey, can we do an in-person happy hour? I can't take this anymore. I'm like, I'm too talkative as it is. I'm talking over every single little window in this happy hour, in this Zoom. I can't fucking take it. Let me book a happy hour and let's do this moving forward. And I didn't even meet anyone until then. I met most of my team members at a happy hour that I orchestrated after 3 months of being at the company, because I just couldn't be around. I couldn't not be with my people anymore, dude.
It's crazy, because the first 6 months in sales is a humbling, lonely, soul-sucking where you're just questioning everything. You feel small in life. Like you just feel like
God.
you're like looking at another company. You're like, those reps don't ever have to deal with this. I should just go work there. You're
Right.
like 3 months in trying to interview somewhere else. You're
It's the
like,
worst.
What the hell you doing? So like doing it alone is just, it's just honestly almost impossible if you're not already 5 years into your career.
And yeah, that helped, because I obviously I started as a SDR role at 30 years.
Yeah, 30. Sorry.
Yep, at 30 years old, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, I was 10 years into my career path or whatever. But
Because most SDRs are 23.
exactly, and honestly, that was one of the barriers I had. Remember, you were trying to help me with all the big companies, whether it was Salesforce or Oracle, whatever. I couldn't even get past the HR screening because I was. And this probably wasn't what they say, but I was definitely too old to get those SDR jobs.
Which is fucking bullshit, because so many people that I've had on the pod that I know personally that are CROs now a bunch of them started in accounting, finance, consulting.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them were teachers. Some of them were, bartenders. Some of them were cooks. Some of them, like, they had all these different types of jobs, and like they made their way, and those led the path for them to be successful. It didn't necessarily build their sales skills, but it built their hard work and their work ethic and their attitude. And nowadays, like, you see, I talk to people all the fucking time that are in other industries that are trying to get jobs in tech, and that's the new wave. And so maybe these big companies are not catching on, but startups certainly have. And, companies like Nexum, where it's like they'll hire you because they saw something in you and you have lit it up for the first, 2 years. And so I think that's the trend moving forward.
Real quick, let me throw this in. Like, that is a stigma that needs to be broken, because it's crazy that you brought that up. I had never thought about that, because when I was in my BDR position, I just thought I was too young.
Really?
And but I've been bald since I was 19. So I swear when I was on LinkedIn, I was like, this is half the reason why any of these people even talk to me, because they think I'm older than I actually am. It's like, they found out that it's some 21-year-old calling them, like, they're gonna be like, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like, it's and I really felt that. So so I guess that, you just got to be somewhere between, like, you got to be right around 25 or something. I don't know what the sweet spot is, but
you're right. I mean, they almost are looking in the way what I gathered from it was they're looking that they can mold somebody into the next step.
Yeah.
I already have a mold, right? I'm already to a point where I'm obviously open to learning. I was new to sales, so I would take any of their advice. But they're looking for someone with as green as it gets.
No
mold
habits.
them. Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
man.
how about you lead into the question?
No, I was gonna say how brutal it was when you first started introduced me to interviews or have me apply. Dude, I would get so many auto reject emails I'm like, dude, I'm never gonna get out of this.
How many? Can we dive more into this?
Yeah.
Because I'm talking to a decent amount of people, I feel like, that are not in tech. Whether, like, my cousin was in college, I was trying to get him a job. They just got Lucy the job at a spot. And, like, other people, shout out to Lucy. I mean, I don't know.
Double shout out. Double shout out.
But so
because it's rare.
So I'm trying to talk to them, and I haven't been through the process in a while. How many times did you think you got rejected on applications?
I only actually got 2 in-person interviews. I applied to over 30.
Wow. How many did you get ghosted versus you got no's? Like when you sent your resume?
No ghost. It was always the auto HR reject email.
Wow.
I never even got to, because once I could speak
So
to someone.
28 out of 30.
I could easily, once I got to speak to them.
Crazy.
Dude,
That's fucked.
I mean, if all you have to do to get the best job of your life is take 28 rejection emails, that's a pretty easy path.
It is, but it's crazy that you have someone that has 8 years of work experience as an accountant.
Right.
And
Motivated.
you're motivated, you're hungry, whether they know it or not. You have a brother that has been in the field for 10 years, and you can get in. You have a wrestling background.
Yep.
And you can't just get in at the entry level for an interview. That's fucking ridiculous.
True.
And
That's crazy.
the 2 interviews I got in person, I got offers from. So I was batting 1,000,
Yeah.
but I couldn't even get past the HR email. And Ryan would help me with the appropriate people to talk to. And even after, they're like, yeah, listen, they're looking for someone with either no experience or some experience. I'm like,
What do you want
I'm both.
from me?
yeah, what do you want? I'll delete my resume. I'll change my birth date, motherfuckers. I mean,
I'll delete my resume.
it was insane, man. There was just no chance. I couldn't even get into a sales training program.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that I'll just say on that though, it's so disheartening if you get denied by 28 out of 30, and especially when we're talking about, and like you just mentioned, it's just like once you find when you agree with what you're selling, it's like that's what gives you that fulfillment. But it's just like, so what about for those people that don't get accepted? They find their dream job is taking applications, and you find 5 similar jobs, all 5 of them deny you, and it's just like, how many people are like, well, do I go settle for a different sales job in a different position that I don't want to be selling something so I can get to that job? Or how many people just stop it right there and they just go on and do something else, you know?
A lot stop it too early.
A lot.
And like
Too
early.
It's
Like so many times early on, any of us who's been in it doesn't even have to be sales, any job of difficulty, whether it's you running your own business, us being in sales, first 6 months you want to quit multiple times. Like it's, and like you thought about it a lot.
I do say on the podcast quite a bit that if you're in sales, you should give it the full year. Because like what you're saying, the first 6 months, first 12 months, you are going to have a moment where you want to quit, where you're frustrated, you're pissed off, you might cry, you might call your mom, you might fucking yell at your boss, you might yell at your significant other. I mean, for real, dude, it's nuts. And so to get through that is got to be, I mean, has the same not happened for being I mean, you're an entrepreneur. Let's not
all those things you were saying.
Let's not slow take this.
I'm not in sales. That's dude, that's everything.
You are.
Can we dive in, because there's a lot of people I've had on the pod that are entrepreneurial or, run their own business. And I think there's a lot of correlations, obviously, from sales to that. So, and I want to run a business too. So, like, talk to me, Lake. Like, being everything's on your shoulders. I'm not trying to put the heat on you, but like, for real,
Bring the heat.
you're running your business,
Turn that flamethrower
and
on.
it's all coming like straight from what you produce. Like, what is that mentality like?
Dude, it's just that's a tough.
How do you
that's
handle
a tough
what
question.
challenges
It's just
have you?
like-
Ups and downs.
What challenges
Nah,
have you
but-
had that you didn't foresee at the beginning?
I don't know.
Trying to correct my wine, correct my question.
Like to answer you, Tom, it's just like, see, I don't know, but like that's something where like I don't even know if I'm the right person to ask about that because like we're talking about just like people getting working at that. It's like everything that's ever been thrown at me. I'm like, I'm the worst at saying. I know you have the same problem. I'll fucking accept something and I have no time to do it.
Yeah.
It's just like
Me too.
We
I'll
just talked about
do
this.
it. Like it's just like
worst.
it's like as soon as someone like hits me with a task, it's like even if it's something I don't know, and this is I was thinking about this earlier when we were talking about just like people asking me for stuff in my position. I don't realize it's just like faking it till you make it is kind of real, but at the same time, it's like if you're faking it, you're actually doing it. So once you actually do it, it's just like, did I really fake it? It's like I don't know. It's like you just do it, even if you think you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, what the hell? Like that's what's up. And real quick before you dive into whatever you're about to get into next,
I was just about to say Gary Vee says, say yes, figure it out later.
damn, I'm not big on Gary Vee. That's a good
We
one,
should
though. That's a
debate
good
that
one.
because we got 3 ardent Gary Vee followers and 1 hater. Maybe we'll tackle
Keep
that
going,
out.
Dr.
What were you
Lake.
gonna say, Lake?
Also, I have a great idea for a podcast for you. Lake's Takes. Keep going.
that is good.
name.
Uh,
We should do that once a week. You get on and you say something about sales.
that'd be
Lake's
that'd be
Takes.
fire. Hey, I'm not opposed.
Just try to.
But man,
That was his
nah,
idea. 20
pick-
seconds before.
What were you saying right before that though? There was because there was something about that. Otherwise, we'll move on to whatever's next. But there was something that I really wanted to say about something we
You were
were
gonna
just
ask
talking about
Tanner
before.
something about.
No, I already asked him about working remote. That
Yeah.
was a while ago. What were you just talking about though? Before
He asked you about.
Too early.
been too early.
No.
Fucking- man, I'll find it.
So let's talk about your. All right, How long you been doing the editing for the podcast? 3 years.
Well, I actually started when I was in my BDR role. Ryan and I convinced the CEO of the company, or the CFO, I should say, or CEO. I can't remember. Sorry, RJ. It's been a while. And he was so fucking in on it, and like that was where I got my grounding on it, and it was back to being the BDR. It's like, dude, I was so scared to do cold calls. I was like, man, now I only have to do cold calls half the day. Like, and the other half of the day, I get to edit podcasts.
Thank God.
Yeah, and it was like,
That's
and then,
Yeah.
and yeah, so it started just kind of as another task, but then it was just like, oh shit, like, and like what we were saying with finding the right thing to sell or whatever, just like me, where it's just like putting out podcasts that feel like I know that your podcast is making an impact on people. I know the other ones that I'm doing are making an impact on people. It's like I wouldn't be motivated at all to do this if I were doing it for. I can't even bring up an example. It's just
Right. So when 6 months in, let's talk about what you're feeling. 6 months in, 12 months in, 36 months in. Just overall, like 6 months in, you're like, holy shit, I'm gonna have to find an actual job. This is never gonna work. 12 months, you're like, I'm kind of dig it. And 36 months, you're like, this is my fucking job now, right? I mean, is that what you're feeling?
It's it's a great point because it's what.
I was just saying, great point. 1 point for Tanner.
Oh, hell yeah. No, it is a great point because, like, I didn't realize that exactly like you said. When I first got into it, I only had, I think, 1 gig, which was yours, and it was, like, it was, like, just kind of getting by, and I was like, yeah, I need to find other jobs or whatever. Then I got more work with it, and it just kind of took over where I was like, and then all of a sudden it was like, I was still looking for other jobs, and I was like, wait a second.
Why?
Yeah, like, why am I doing this? Like I'm locked in right now. So it's yeah, man, it's a blessing, really.
Fuck yeah, I love it. I love it. I got one for you. So
Hit
me and you talked about this when we first moved in Chicago together, and you hit it on it earlier. I was gonna say something, but we were rolling. You really want to help people is your goal.
Yeah.
And I countered with, you are helping people with, you're at Gong, you're selling sales professionals.
Yeah.
It's helping them be better salesmen.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's not enough? I'm not saying you're leaving Gong or anything along those lines. What makes you want to do something
I'm
other?
not saying that.
Who's putting that out?
What makes you want to leave?
No one's ever said that.
He said it.
He goes,
We're not saying that.
What makes you want to? Yeah, we're gonna edit that out. What makes you want to stop selling? Even though, in my opinion, you are doing exactly what and I could be wrong, but this is just my view of that you are doing what you want. You are helping sales leaders. You are helping salespeople be better salesmen, and that's what you want from what you said earlier. What's the difference?
Well, I think there's a step removed when it comes from, so, if you're selling, I'm selling Gong. Gong is software that helps salespeople sell more. So in essence, if I'm selling, to a VP of sales and he or she gives them Gong and they sell better, then I'm helping salespeople for sure. But there's a middle person in between there. Gong is in the middle, the VP of sales is in the middle, the CFO is in the middle. Whereas if you're just coaching someone, if you're helping them directly, you can kind of see that impact. Like if I'm mentoring you and we're talking every other week on Tuesday nights and you're like, dude, this, we talk about an email thing and then you use it and then you book meetings off it and you tell me about it. I mean, that's just a direct one-to-one.
Got it.
And so that's the difference. And that's why I moved from, marketing software to LMS to now sales, because it's the closest thing I could find. That's the closest hit to what I'm interested in. And that's why I love, and the product's amazing. I love working at Gong. But there's one extra step that makes the podcast and stuff more fulfilling, which is like you're just direct with people.
Love it.
One-on-one.
I mean, what's better than creating something that you just think is interesting anyway, and someone else happens to enjoy listening to
It's
it?
amazing.
It's just a win for win.
You're the creative master over here.
It's just like fun to think about just making something.
Yeah.
Because I would like to think of myself as a craftsman, a builder. Like someone makes this table, but odds
can't.
are
What motion's that?
I can't touch a saw without cutting my finger.
No,
so I think it's
absolutely.
fun to build something creatively that people where we grew up would be like, I'm not going to say it, but they would call you not a manly man for being like an artist or like a creative person. It was kind of looked down upon. And it was like the weird kid in school.
If we weren't working at a factory, we were
Right.
Which is crazy to say because you look at fucking Mick Jagger or whoever.
Right.
It's like, oh, they'll listen to the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
They'll listen to Led Zeppelin. They're artists.
Artists. And
Artists
so,
to the highest degree.
I just think it's cool that you put yourself out there, 300
Yeah.
episodes, Tommy, and you're very plugged into this sales world, which is what we started with.
Yeah.
I was gone for a while. Now you're back and really focusing on the sales world. I think it's awesome. I think it's
appreciate
really cool.
you.
Dude,
I appreciate you.
So impressive. 300
Impressive,
episodes of 300 of anything is a lot.
This is why we
It's
did it.
so
We did this
impressive.
whole thing
Crazy.
for the last hour so I get a couple compliments at the end. And
Pump that ego.
it's been a tough last few weeks, so I'm into it.
That's 300, give or take 300 hours of interviews.
It's a fucking
And
lot.
if you think you're a great interviewer, and you are, but if you follow the 10,000 hour rule,
Got ways to go, boy.
you haven't made a dent on interviews.
haven't
haven't made a so let's stop the fucking
crazy?
patty wax and the back patting.
Wow.
Haven't made even got 1,000.
What'd you just say?
Let's stop the.
Let's keep that in. Let's keep that in.
I thought about that the other day. I was like feeling good about myself, give myself some pat in the back, as I'm known to do. And,
Yeah, how could you not?
And I was like, if you count all the interviews I've done, including the documentaries, including TR Talk, maybe I'm at 400 because I've done 320 episodes. 400 hours of interviews compared to the 10,000 hour rule.
But
You're at a
that's
measly
just for
0.0%.
interviewing. There's a lot of other work that goes into it that you do.
Right, but I'm talking straight
Pure interviews.
interview
Straight
time.
interviewing. I mean, Joe Rogan's done what, 1,000?
Times 3 hour interviews.
So he's not even halfway there.
I mean, he's at like 1,500.
1,500 times 3 is 4,500. He's still not halfway to 10,000.
Plus MMA shows. He's at, how dare you? He's halfway.
The what shows?
You're going right at my guy here.
The what shows?
He's halfway.
He probably is, but I'm saying he's someone that does
Your point's taken.
more than almost
Totally
anyone.
irrelevant.
As long as almost anyone, he's not even at
All I'm
10,000.
saying is that it's amazing because most podcasts don't make it past like episode 7 or 10.
Yeah,
Another
fair. The
5%
graveyard.
don't make it past episode 50. To go to 100 is unheard of. To go to 300, you have the podcast, you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I just think it's impressive.
I
But
appreciate
also, how the fuck do people get to 10,000 and something? That's the hour of mastery.
Damn,
We got a
dude.
long
We're
way to
ending
go.
on a positive
We're
note.
gonna end on a depressing
it's a
note.
note of you can always do more.
Always.
Fuck yeah.
Let's
Love
go.
it.
Always. Everyone want to
We're
give
not
a
doing the
little,
most we can.
that might be your last round. Anyone else got a little last round?
Fuck no, fucking wrap us up, dog. Let's go. What do you got?
He goes,
Who
that's your
knows?
last
Maybe we'll,
round.
maybe we'll
Cut his
segue.
mic.
Maybe we'll start another segue. Who the fuck knows? What's go? What's up?
Bro, we
What's
should
up?
do this every week.
This should be.
It's just Lake's takes.
This is some of the most fun I've had since I moved to Chicago.
And like, it's not as shenanigans as I thought, and it's not as tight as we were in the first 5 minutes.
No,
It's good.
we're loose.
It's good.
We're loose. We're chilling. We're adding value. And if one person gets value out of this, then we just spent a quality hour, as we would have said earlier.
We should reopen it now that we're loose.
What?
No, we're not going to reopen it.
What are you talking about? No.
No? Okay.
I don't care. I wouldn't say anything for the opening anyway. So
All right, let's wrap this up. Anyone else got anything to say?
Congrats on 300, Tommy.
Appreciate
We love
it.
ya.
300, baby.
Appreciate
Let's
you.
go.
Let's show a little love to anyone that's out there listening. We appreciate you. Appreciate you rocking with us for this hour. I can only imagine what it was like listening to all four of us just jabber for
Talk
an hour
over each
about
other.
random shit. So I do genuinely appreciate anyone that's listening, that's tuning in, showing some love. We're 300 down. We got a lot more to go. And, hey, we'll be back next week with some more content. Let's keep this shit rolling, baby.
Hell yeah.
We love you guys.
And any executives out there looking to hire, I have over 130, right around 130 Millennial Sales podcasts edited, listened to multiple times. So I may not have been in the field too long, but I know I got the knowledge.
Shoot your
That's
shot,
Dr. Lake, baby.
You trying to
your
get hired
shot.
for podcast producer or BDR?
Dude, I'll take another BDR job.
And if anyone,
I'll
and
get
if-
back
Get you a
in the game.
BDR
I didn't
job
know
in 2
that.
seconds.
What are you talking about?
I need
we
one.
just spent an
Yeah, we
hour
could get
talking
one.
about how I'm helping people get back into sales, and you didn't tell
Bro,
me you wanted to be a
between
BDR.
the three of us masterminds, you could get a BDR job by the end of the month, bro.
I
Making
could get you a
55
BDR,
grand a year.
We could get you a BDR
See,
job
maybe
before
that's the,
midnight tonight.
See, that's the problem I was just talking about earlier. It's just
Dang.
I don't know, the head down thing. You know what I mean?
gotta
I don't know. I'm fucking.
shoot your
We'll get you there, baby. Get you going. Come on.
All right, if everyone gets one ask to the audience, Lakes is to get an interview. What do you got, R-Dub? What's your ask for the audience? What you got?
Ask for the audience is,
Anything you want.
man, ask for the audience is going to be 2 things.
Okay, we're pushing it.
He goes, the guy gets one.
2 things. Read a book.
It's not nice.
Love it.
The world's knowledge is in the books. Sometimes I went through a 3-year spell of not reading. Been reading lately. I'm really just feeling cleansed,
It's
fulfilled
amazing.
with it.
Okay.
2, get moving. I don't want people stationary out there. A little movement throughout the day is big.
That's great.
Okay.
It's
Great
been a brutal
advice.
winter.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Lake wants a job. Ryan's got some motivational advice. T-Dub, Tanner Warner, what do you got for us, baby?
I just want you to go out there and talk to people, converse, interact. We've been away for too long. Get together, people.
What do you want people? What's the ask for the audience, Tommy? This is your audience.
I mean,
Give it a
My-
300 level, baby.
my real ask for the audience is if you got something in your head, because I hear all the time I talk to people, and they're always asking, we were talking about this earlier, asking how you get started with the podcast. How do you start? What do you do? How do you start if you want to get a sales job? What do you do on day one? You just fucking start. Whatever you want to do, whatever's in your head that you're journaling about, that you're meditating about, that you're talking to your friend about, listen to this podcast, finish it, subscribe, and then go do whatever that thing is. Take the first step on it. It'll change your entire life. You'll be fucking a sales leader. You'll be producing podcasts. You'll be running documentaries. All you got to do is take the first step. That's it. 300 out.